Welcome to Chris and Jen in the morning.
Where it's always morning somewhere. I'm Chris.
And I'm Jen.
Jen, I have to say I am more excited about our conversation today than I probably should be. And I've done a lot more research than I thought I was going to into this topic. So I'm excited to chat with you about it. We're going to go on a journey today. I'm excited.
I'm a little terrified. Like, can you see it in my face? I'm just a little terrified because I have no idea what's coming at us today. I have no idea, right. So I'm not prepared. So I have no clue what my reaction might be, and that terrifies me.
I'm in the driver's seat today. I'm more interested to see what your reactions are going to be whenever I start sharing all of this stuff with you, and we'll get there. So let's start the conversation with what's the weather been like in Texas this last week?
Oh my God. The weather at this time of year here in Texas, first of all, a decade I've been here and I still am not used to this weather situation. Also, like, it's so unpredictable this time of year. And it was cold, and then it was warm, and then it was snowy, and then it was rainy. And it's just like back and forth, up and down, all over the place. We don't want to turn really the heater on because, that totally dries out your skin. And it's just weird weather. You don't know how to dress. You don't know how to do your face routine because one day it's warm. But yesterday I did go out with a friend, and we totally put the top down and just enjoyed the sun on our heads, which was beautiful. So I can't complain about that.
Well, that's nice.
I also have no idea what this week is going to bring us. It could be like cold. It could be, but I will say, I do enjoy when the weather does get like really cold for a while, because then you get the hard freeze and it kills off all of the pollen and the bugs. And we have not had a hard freeze this year. There has been no hard freeze. No, it did get below freezing, but a hard freeze is technically when it goes below 28 degrees and it stays that way for a considerable amount of time.
Oh.
And it has not done that. It's just done I'll call it the Texas bounce.
Look at you coming up with your little weather terms in Texas.
People always say, like, wherever I've lived, all of the places that I've lived and places I've visit and whatever, people are always like, oh, if you don't like the weather, just stick around. That's what we say. It's like they say that about everywhere.
Yes.
But I do feel like it feels truly applicable. Like, it's the Texas bounce. That's the part of the year that we're in. What about you? How's the weather in New York?
It was getting nice. Nicer, where it was still pretty cold in the mornings, warming up in the day, warming up like in the 30s, 40s. And then we had a cold front move through, and so now we're back to, I think it's 27 degrees right now. Which, look, I'm happy with. Part of the reason I moved up north was to get away from the heat and how long it lasts. So I am happy. I like the cold. But I was thinking the exact same thing that you are with the pollen, the bugs. But even additionally up here, there's a rat problem. And so it also is helping kind of control that.
But the cold doesn't kill the roaches, though, right? Like, I don't think anything kills the roaches.
We'll have to find what is the bug person? Not an ornithologist. That's a bird person.
It's but just before you said that, I was gonna think of it. I think there's an E involved. Maybe it starts. It starts with an E, but there's definitely an E involved.
There's an E involved somewhere in it.
The word that keeps coming to my head is endocrinology, but that is not it at all.
Yeah, that's definitely not. I know that's not right.
Entomology.
There we go.
It's entomology. Thank you, producer. That was very helpful. I appreciate you making us look smarter than we're showing up today. I knew there was an E involved, though. Entomology.
You did.
I get a point, 10th of a point, maybe.
Yeah, Yeah.
It's 67 degrees outside right now.
Oh, balmy there.
I'm telling you, it's confusing. And you know what else is confused is like my skin is confused. So, like favorite support item right now, I'm gonna have to say is a good lotion. And I have like texture issues, like
Yes.
sensory, weirdness. And the really conflicting thing for me is that I need the lotion because my skin is like so dry. I've reached that point in life where this is a problem. Whereas up until this point in life,
Yeah.
it was never a problem. I was just like, I don't understand what people talking about with the weather change and their skin. No, it's a problem. And I now know why my mother put lotion on, just like bathed in lotion every morning. Yeah. And but it's like finding a good lotion is important because either you get one that you like the scent of when you smell it, but then when you put it all over yourself, you can't get away from that scent and it's overwhelming, or just the like, lotion is kind of, I'm going to use a term that may feel, you may not agree with, but I think lotion, even good lotion with the good texture, is slimy. It's like,
greasy. Like sometimes it can be greasy.
I don't like things that feel like slimy and greasy and I just want to wash my hands, but washing your hands after you put lotion on is literally like defeating the point of putting lotion on. In fact, the number of times I want to wash my hands is probably part of the problem. For why I need the lotion.
I just want to say, keep washing your hands, please.
Yeah, right. But maybe not as many times as I do it, though. Like, probably not as many times as I actually do it. But I would say that lotion is my favorite support item right now. And it's tough to find a lotion that's actually super high quality, that works really well, that you actually don't kind of go while you're putting it on, because you just feel sort of gross. So open to suggestions if there's anyone else out there that has, kind of some sensory sensitivity and putting lotion on kind of freaks you out, eats you out, but also that you need it and your skin doesn't feel right without it.
Yeah. I think that's the part, is like whenever your skin gets to the point of like even just, where your clothes are irritating you, or like you put on a coat. I remember one of my first winters here in Texas, I didn't really need a scarf, right? Like you go from your house to the car, the store to the car, the office to the car. Here you walk like sometimes blocks to the station to catch your train, whatever. And so you really do have to like bundle up. And I remember like I got a really bad just dry patch on the back of my neck from my scarf and jacket just constantly rubbing against it.
Yeah.
And so that's like when I was like, oh my gosh, I have to find like a lotion that because it hurts. And so I ended up finding Gold Bond lotion, which they have like a healing formula or something like that. But I will say the one thing about it is that it does kind of leave that greasy feel on my hands, which when I'm going to bed I don't really care about. So that's like my lotion routine is like as I'm getting into bed, because I don't want to walk around like
you don't want to be all
chappy all day.
You don't want to be all like tappy and like chafy and it's like it makes your teeth hurt because your skin's too dry.
Yes, even just talking about it.
It makes your teeth hurt to put the slime on. So, I'm a little conflicted.
Well, I started the conversation with weather because it's very pertinent to what we're going to be talking about today. So, like, is there going to be
more of this weather or less of this weather? Am I going to get my hard freeze? Am I not? Like, what's the situation?
Yeah, well, I'm excited to share some studies that I have done to take us on that journey. All right, so Jen, I have a clip that I want you to listen to. We'll play it, and then I have a question for you.
This is like a whole experience. Okay, I'm ready.
All right, that's good.
Wait, groundhogs are squirrel?
Okay, so Jen, you just heard some noises.
Oh my God. That noise was like painful. I don't. Why?
What do you think
would
that
you
noise
do that
was?
to me? What? I mean, I'm assuming that was the groundhog, based on what I was hearing, and seeing, and what you're telling me about. But I don't think I've ever thought about what noise does a groundhog make.
I
And
had never thought of it either.
I prefer it makes no noise.
In my mind, it didn't make any noise. And then I was like, ooh, what kind of noise does a groundhog make? And then I looked it up and I'm like, oh, it sounds like kind of like a bird.
Oh my goodness. It started to sound like a bird, and then it sounded like a technical difficulty directly in my ear. Like,
Yeah, I
warning.
probably should have given a little bit of a warning, like maybe turn down sound a little bit, but we live
that was
and we learn.
intense. That was intense.
So yes, that was a groundhog.
You know what it actually sounded like? I now understand where internet dial-up modeled their noises after. It was literally just some groundhogs going
I got
through
some
static.
groundhogs together and just started recording it.
Yeah, that pitch was like a Mariah
Aggressive.
Carey whistle tone sort of a situation.
Well,
wow.
Do you know what else groundhogs are called?
Like I just saw in that clip that they're squirrels.
Yes, they are in the squirrel family. They are also known as woodchucks, based on the sound.
How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? That's about groundhogs? No.
Correct.
You're a liar.
I'm not. I am not. I have done the research, Jen.
You're gonna be both shocked and not shocked at the same time that I happen to have something sitting over in my front room that I feel is the perfect prop for this conversation.
Okay. Bring it over.
I never would have known. I never would have known.
Who knew it was within an arm's reach? Oh, that's very squirrel-like.
It is a squirrel.
It's part of the woodchuck family.
Yes.
Is it a candle? Like you put a candle in it?
No, it actually lights up.
Oh, okay.
But the batteries in here don't work.
Well,
I actually bought it as a gag because I thought it was kind of cute in like that sort of kitschy, like eclectic way. Because I have a very like eclectic sense of things that bring me joy, and if it brings me joy, then I tend to buy it. It's very eclectic, and my very good friend also hates squirrels, hates them.
Oh,
and so I saw this, and I thought of her and how much she hates squirrels and how odd it was. It's just a really odd item, and I just thought it was hilarious.
So wait, are you giving that? Are you giving that to her?
No, she would have. She is one of those people that first of all, does not have an eclectic taste in design, and she is like the opposite of me in that she just throws stuff away all the time. So her house always looks like a magazine, Whereas I am one of those people that would love for my house to look like a magazine all the time and knows that that will never happen because I have this like eclectic sense. So she comes over and she says like, oh my God, I love your house because there's always so much to look at. And like, I think she genuinely means it, but also I sometimes wonder like, what does that mean?
Well, part of me wonders if like it's the change of scenery. Like they appreciate like going into other places and seeing like it's a different vibe because we have a friend who's the same way, very minimalist. Everything has its place. And
it's beautiful. It's what I love about traveling.
Yeah,
because you can only take so much stuff with you when you travel. But I also love tchotchkes, and I would call this a tchotchke.
Yeah,
and,
for sure. Oh, can you describe it for folk?
Yeah, it's a squirrel brown colored ceramic squirrel, holding a nut up to its face. I think I had a photo once, a headshot taken of me in my very first, like real career job, where they asked me to hold a rose like that up to my face. And then that got sent to the office. And let me just tell you, I did not live it down. It was, yeah, I'll have to pull that little goodie out for you. It's
were y'all doing like office bachelorette? Like what?
Oh my gosh, we had this upside down org chart on the wall, and I was a part of the management team. And so I was like on the upside down org chart, like at the bottom of it, but I was on it. And so they needed a headshot of me, and they sent me to the Walmart photo studio, folks, up the street.
All right.
But the first time they sent me, the photo studio lost my photos. And so they said, we're really sorry, but you're going to have to come back. Now, if you know me, you know that like I don't photograph particularly well. I always have some sort of like weird smile face going on.
I am familiar with
You're familiar. You're familiar with the awkward picture smile. And it has been a part of my life for as long as I can remember. And so getting photographed, I did not have the anxiety chicken in that photographing session, like my last headshot situation entailed. That's another story for another time. So they had me come back to retake these headshots. And the very nice lady at the photo center there, because, you know, it was when they had like these photo.
Yeah, like, in the front of the stores.
Go get your photos done, and they've got all the props and the whatever. She was like, I'm going to do 2 for you because I'm sorry that we lost your photos and they had, you know, you had to come back. So I'm going to do 2 for you. And great. So she does the first one. And then in the second one, she gives me this like fake flower rose thing to hold up. And she's like, okay, just hold the rose. And it's like me holding this rose like up next to my face with my weird picture smile. And then unfortunately, you know, you didn't get those photos like right away. It took time to develop said photos. So they shipped them to the office.
To the attention of whoever like set up the session.
Karen, who was our like just wonderful, I love Karen, loved Karen. She got the photos because she got all the mail. And I was not the first person to have received those photos. They were passed around in the department prior to me getting them. And I did not live down awkward photo Jen with the rose up next to my face.
Oh my gosh. I hope we can find that photo and drop it in.
Yeah. I'm sure I still have it. The squirrel is channeling some real rose awkward photo Jen you know, energy here in its like ceramic, porcelain, I don't know, whatever this material is. Still have the tag on it because I am terrible about taking tags off of things, and I just put it on the shelf with the tag on it. It's like squirrel brown or poop brown, whatever you want to call that color. And it has these little, because it's like a lamp. So inside there's a little light that lights up and it would shoot out, you know, light from it. of all these little cutout holes. And I think that the cutout holes are supposed to be acorns, but they're actually reminiscent of that shape that was on that shirt I bought that you later informed me looked like a seaman shirt. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I don't think it looks like the seaman shirt. I think from where I'm sitting, at least, it kind of like, is it a leaf? Is it an acorn? If it's an acorn, why is it attached to like these viney things?
I don't know.
But the viney thing,
Is it like do they look like little poop emoji shapes? I don't know.
Yeah, I could see that too. I could see that. Yeah.
It's an interesting, I don't initially first think acorn, except for it's a squirrel. Like, if the context of the squirrel was not here, no one would look at this and go, that's an acorn. Like,
I would agree.
Let's just be real about that. You would come up with some other things that are probably not so safe for work.
Okay, well, in the spirit of that, I think
it's going to sit here with me.
I think my favorite name that I came across for these little creatures was the thick woods badgers. That is not how it's pronounced. That's in my head how I hear it.
Speaking of not safe for work.
I'm not even kidding. I was talking to Frank about this last night, and he's like, you have to say it in that exact accent when you tell Jen.
I really do think that these animals have become much more interesting to me all of a sudden. Like, I am wow, they whistle.
Okay.
Like Mariah Carey. They have a whole like, what is that called? It's like a phonetic, like, practicing jingle thing. What are those called?
I don't know.
You know, like Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers.
Mm-hmm.
How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
Yes.
I had no idea
you can understand
for my whole life that was a groundhog.
Right. Well, now you can understand how, like, once I started looking into this,
wood.
like, just, let me just
wood badger.
Yes. Thick wood very specific. Thick wood badger. Mm-hmm.
Do they have thick wood? Okay. No. I don't want to.
Okay, we're moving on.
Don't answer that.
Okay.
Do they are they like beavers?
That I don't know. No, because they burrow. Like, they burrow into the ground. That's where beavers like build something to like live in, like using the wood that they build, like the beaver dams.
Okay, so wait, what's the difference between a beaver and a badger?
What is it that they say about the badger?
Honey badger? Honey badger don't care?
There's the difference.
Okay, so
apparently the beaver cares.
Is it like in the badger family?
Let me do some quick Googling.
Does this mean that a squirrel is a type of badger if they're related? Or is this like, if you took a badger and a squirrel, you would get a groundhog? And also, like, where does hog come in? Legitimately, I love your Google face, though, also. Can I just say? You sound like you're typing with purpose.
Typing with purpose. Don't you forget it. Okay, so
I'll just say more tongue twisters. That's what they're called, tongue twisters, while you Google.
What I quickly found is that beavers and groundhogs are not closely related. Beavers are part of...
Beavers and badgers.
Oh, beavers and badgers. But we're not talking about badgers. It's groundhogs. We're talking about groundhogs.
It's a thick wood badger.
No, badgers and beavers are not in the same family.
Okay, and is it a part of the badger family, or is that just another confusing naming convention? Like hog.
Are badgers and
groundhogs in the same family? I really need to know this. We're really getting into like the study of animals here.
Groundhogs are known as Marmota monax, are grazing members of the rodent family, while badgers are hunting members of the weasel family, also known as mustelade? So no.
Okay, so beavers and woodchucks are rodents, and badgers are mustelids.
Correct. They are part of a hunting. They are hunters.
Okay.
We're moving back to groundhogs.
So it's neither a hog or a badger.
The beaver. The badger.
The groundhog is neither a hog or a badger.
Correct.
And yet those are its names.
That's what people have called them.
Badger.
That is the names that they have received.
I wonder do you know anything about how that name came to be?
No, I did not look up the origins. It was not
I'm gonna need some more intel on that. All right, so carry on. I'm stuck.
So
you move us along there.
Can you name any of the prediction groundhogs?
Puxatani Phil.
Another tongue twister.
Puxatani Phil? Is it Puxatani Phil?
Yes.
It's Phil.
You got
it's Phil
there.
For sure. He's Phil.
Punxsutawney Phil.
Punxsutawney. He's a punk.
Yes, and he is based in Pennsylvania.
Badger. That's not a badger at all. Based in Pennsylvania.
He is a groundhog. He is a groundhog, or the scientific name, the Marmota monax.
That's another tongue twister. Why did they have to call it a woodchuck to make up a tongue twister? Because I feel like a Marmota. Say it. What is it?
Marmota monax.
Marmota monax. That's like a good moniker. A good
it's an M&M.
Phonetic tongue twister. Yeah, I feel like
it is what the scientific community call them. So the scientific community across the world, that is how they refer to them. They do not refer to them as groundhogs.
Marmota monax, mumble, mermaids, mildly, moreover.
I feel like we need one more.
Moping.
We'll work on it. Put a pin in it. Put a pin in it. We'll work on it. Well, yes. So I would say Punxsutawney Phil is like the most probably well-known groundhog. More. There are so many more.
Wait, alive now, not like in the history of time because they don't live forever.
Well, interesting. You should say that. So in the wild, they live up to 2 to 6 years, but in captivity, they can live up to 14 years.
Is that because they're prey and they get eaten?
Oh, very possible.
Like
they live on the ground.
In the wild?
It's very possible.
Maybe that's where the hog came from, because, those definitely...
Yeah, they're on the ground, and they kind of look hoggish. People put it together. Well, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, also known as NOAA.
Yes, I know NOAA.
So they actually did an article about the most accurate groundhogs. So those who make predictions, and those predictions are ultimately what happens. So, although Punxsutawney Phil is probably the most well-known, not the most accurate. In fact, the least accurate.
All the groundhogs?
He only got an honorable mention.
All the groundhogs? Or all the groundhogs? He's the least accurate of all the groundhogs.
My research really started. So apparently, the Staten Island Chuck, who lives here in New York, he is a woodchuck. He is approximately 85% accurate.
I think interesting.
Yes. And then there's General Beauregard Lee, who lives in Georgia, and they are 80% accurate.
Okay, so the, the accuracy is like whether or not they see their shadow.
Correct.
And if a groundhog sees its shadow, then
Mhm.
you get more winter, right?
Correct. 6 more weeks of winter.
And it's always 6 weeks. It just doesn't vary from year to year. It doesn't matter how much of their shadow they saw. It's just another 6 weeks or no more winter at all.
So growing up, we're told 6 weeks, right? Like I think that's like the well-known thing. But as I did further research, I found that they call it early spring. So the groundhog is either predicting an early spring or a long winter. So where the 6 weeks comes from, I do not know.
Just like a part of a season. Okay. So
correct.
either
So
they're predicting either early
or
spring or a long winter. And
correct.
How do we know if the groundhog actually saw its shadow?
So they are let out of whatever their habitat is. And so if they go out of their habitat and continue to forage, then that's like the starting of them coming out of hibernation. Where if they see their shadow, they go back into hibernation.
Like they're afraid of their shadow and they run away?
I think it's more to do with
somebody just holding the groundhog up?
Yes. So that's the other thing that I found out in all of this. So
you don't know if it saw its shadow.
Some of these are like honorary, like they are now statues. So what I found is that Lander Lil, who is based in Wyoming, with an accuracy of 75%, is actually a bronze statue. Used to be a real groundhog that they would use.
How could it have an accuracy if it's not alive?
I don't know.
It's really just the people behind these groundhogs.
It is the
that
people
are either accurate or not. So does this mean that the weather people in what's the 85% accurate one somewhere in the Northeast?
Oh, Staten Island Chuck.
Okay, Staten Island Chuck. So does this mean that like the Staten Island weather people are actually more accurate at predicting early spring or late winter? Because Chuck predicts nothing because we don't know if Chuck sees his shadow or not?
Right. Well, I think it's worth mentioning that a lot of times, like a lot of these traditions started back in the 1800s. So
now you're going to start telling me like your beliefs on whether Santa is real? Like, come on. Are you saying
of course he's real?
These groundhogs are not like real? I mean, I feel like my whole life is getting destroyed right now. Also, if their name is like an M alliteration, like I think I would have one and name it Martin. Martin the Montauk. What's the second word?
The Marmota Monax. Martin the Marmota
Monax.
M
marries Melinda.
Oh, now you're starting a groundhog farm? Well, so interestingly enough, like Noah actually did all of this research on these. So I found an article, read through it. They had like these parameters, like it had to have been doing it for 20 years or more, and it had to have been like the record had to have been kept so that they could do this. So, but let's just go a little deeper, because I find out in this article the names of these creatures, and then I'm like, let's start looking up what their predictions were and have been. So as I start looking these up, I come across this website called countdowntogrundhogday.com. And let me tell you, this website is fascinating because of the amount of information and data they keep on it. However, probably the most interesting thing, yes, it is absolutely a cult. I'm telling you, I went down a hole on this. Had no intention of doing this much research. This is like the most
elaborate, under-celebrated holiday in the American history.
But also, just imagine if they started making greeting cards for these things. Like, it literally would be a made-up holiday because these statues.
Aren't all
Yes.
holidays like they have to start somewhere?
That's true. That's true. But hold on, I have to get to the most fascinating part about this website, because I go and you can see like all the names of all these other groundhogs that like they have this ceremony, things like that. I find while I am poking around this website, and I'm going to ask you if you know this name. Where is it? Do you know who Billy the Bass is?
Oh yeah, Billy the Bass, the one that sings, yeah?
Is that
The
your
singing
final
bass.
answer?
Billy the Bass is the singing bass.
Oh,
Like-
sorry, not Billy. Benny. Benny the Bass.
Okay,
Do you
but
know who Benny the Bass is?
I just want it to be said. That's like 10 points for me because I knew Billy the Bass is the
accurate.
singing bass.
Billy the Bass, the singing bass that comes off
Can
of
you
his
sing?
you hang it.
Can you sing what he's? Do you know his jingle?
Take me to the river. Drop me in the water.
Or is it?
Isn't that it?
Give me that fillet of fish. Give me that fish.
I don't know that one.
What if it was you up on that wall? If it was you, you wouldn't be laughing at all. Okay, Benny the Bass.
But Benny the Bass. Do you know who Benny the Bass
Benny
is?
is the name of my previous vehicle.
Does it predict if there will be extended winter or early spring?
Yeah, but maybe it depends on how well it's starting in the morning. Benny's old.
All right. Well, Benny the Bass is actually a bass fish. Get ready for it. Where do you think he is from?
Where do bass live? I don't like. Do bass live in oceans or rivers? Are they freshwater or saltwater?
There's saltwater bass. There's freshwater bass.
A bass is just like a generic fish term.
Yeah, I will give you a hint. You have connections to this state.
Oh my gosh, they're from Kansas.
No.
Then they're from Ohio.
Yes.
Benny
Specifically, Buckeye Lake, Ohio.
Okay.
Do you know where that is? I have no idea where that is.
No. Well,
okay.
I mean, geography is definitely my best subject. So let me get a map out.
Let's do some geography lessons. It's not important to the story. What's important to the story is that Benny the Bass has been predicting...
Benny the Bass lives in Buckeye Lake.
Ohio. Yes, I see what you're doing. You really want this alliteration thing to catch on. Stay strong.
I'm a fan.
He has been forecasting whether there will be an early spring or a long winter since 2015.
So this is like an old fish. Is it still alive?
So that's the other thing.
That's
the other thing I found out. It is like an honorary name. Okay, well, first off, they claim Punxsutawney Phil is the original Punxsutawney Phil. That he has I'm not kidding. I took notes. Like I went down the hole here.
Punxsutawney Phil is the what?
Original. Like the original. It is not
the OG.
Right.
The OG thickwood badger.
Woods badger. Yes. And mind you, Punxsutawney Phil has been
supposed to be
predicting...
like 50, 70, 90, 200 years old. How old is...
He's been forecasting since 1887.
Okay, so like the last one was probably closest.
So they say that he is the original, like that there is no replacement, that Punxsutawney Phil is Punxsutawney Phil. You may be wondering, well, how has Punxsutawney Phil lived for, what, 200 years
like
now?
Stuffed?
Is that what... I'm horrible with math.
Is it stuffed or is it just like descendants?
They say...
The groundhog?
They say that he takes... he drinks groundhog punch or the elixir of life, which is how he has survived. That is the folklore.
Groundhog Punch. I see. I see now. I see now a holiday coming together. With
We
a
have
bar
greeting card
menu.
opportunities. We have a bar menu opportunity.
Yeah, if I was creating a bar drink menu for this holiday, it would definitely include Groundhog Punch, the Elixir of Life, the Thick Woods Badger would definitely be a drink. Definitely. Probably like some gin and like herbaceous, woody situation.
That would be some Thick Woods Badgers I would not be interested in.
It's a milkshake.
Oh,
It's a gin milkshake, and it's
my God.
It's making a play for the top.
Oh my gosh. So honestly, like I was just like, I wanted enough information for us to be able to have a conversation on. I spent no less than 2 hours looking in, following, Googling, like going down the path.
It's impressive. Is there like an immersive groundhog experience somewhere where you could like have a getaway weekend and like swim with the groundhogs? Or, you know, have a
swim?
I don't know. Like, isn't that a immersive experience people do with animals? Like they swim with them. Or like a tea party with the groundhogs, because they come out and they see their shadow, or they don't.
Well, because some of them are stuffed. Some of them are stuffed, and some of them are bronze statues, apparently.
I feel like you could swim with stuff.
Maybe this is a new venture that we should look into. Yeah.
We'll open up a holiday weekend. There's actually like an old movie about this.
Oh yes,
that we always watch around Christmas. No. About a holiday experience, like a weekend holiday experience. It's called The Holiday Inn. Did you ever watch that movie? It's like an old black and white film. I think it's black and white. It's called The Holiday Inn, and it's got, oh gosh, I don't know if it's Fred Astaire, but like from that era, I can't remember who stars in it. And it's about like they make an inn, and they like celebrate the holidays and have people out to celebrate the holidays at this inn. You've never heard of it?
Never heard of it.
Bing
Just
Crosby.
Googled it. Bing Crosby, Fred Astaire,
and Fred
Marjorie
Astaire.
Reynolds.
Okay. All right. Points
and Virginia
for me.
Dale. Those are like the headliners of it.
Yeah. I'm not sure that it's one of those that all of the parts of it hold up really well over time.
Okay.
Because there's some of it that kind of, you watch those movies and you just kind of cringe at some of the comedy because it sort of doesn't hold up. But we grew up watching this movie. So I'm just saying we can make our present today, Holiday Inn, and have our first inaugural holiday be Groundhog's Day, since literally no one is celebrating that in this fashion. And I think there might be a market for it based on
how many websites
research.
I found. I'm not like on this Countdown to Groundhog Day website. Like, if there are some of these places that like live cast their enclosures and things like that, like you can go out and you can watch Benny the Bass's experience. Punxsutawney Phil. You can look at his.
Benny the Bass.
It is fascinating. Swim with bass. Okay, so
I spend in a lake, I think.
So I spend so much time looking into this. I'm like, oh my gosh! Like, I look at my clock and I'm like, what the heck? But then it gets me thinking, what else do we people like assume or look at for predicting the weather? Like, what other creatures, animals, whatever So then, of course, I start down that journey.
Oh, is this a long journey?
What I find is that bears are the same way as groundhogs. If they come out of hibernation, and again, it's about like the availability of food. So if they are expecting a longer winter, they go back into hibernation. Now, why don't we use a bear?
Well,
why do we use groundhogs?
I don't know about you,
life
but
expectancy.
I don't ever want to like my life expectancy.
Right, exactly.
Like that's it. It's like
Correct.
me not wanting to interact with a bear one-on-one. Like, I think
Exactly.
that would make a terrible weekend experience.
I would agree.
Unless you
So
are
I quickly
a huge adrenaline junkie, in which case you might enjoy it, but you're going to have to sign a lot of waivers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you may need a few hours of training. At least I would hope they would give you a few hours of training.
I don't think that would be nice to do to the bears. Let's not put the bears in that situation.
Yeah, let's not do
bears
the
be
bears
cute.
that way.
Yeah.
But I just found it interesting because they said it's basically the same thing. It's just the availability of food and like they're known.
Just imagine it. Can you imagine if it's like this whole Groundhog Day experience, but it's like a bear that they're like trekking out, but the bear's not really there, so it's just like a dude in a bear suit, like roar. Essentially,
that is what it is. Like some of these places do such a big production about it that they have like these groundhog costumes that people dress up in. They have their merch, all of this stuff. Like
it's like woodland animals predicting weather. Woodland. Woodland. I need a W word for animals. Anyone got one of those?
Throw it out. Okay. So as I'm on this journey, I also find additional things that we listen to, seek out to see what the weather is going to be. It is said that frogs croak louder when bad weather is approaching.
Oh. Or is it like airplanes? In the cold weather, they sound louder, which has something to do with like the science of sound waves.
Oh, like it could be because some of the stuff I was also looking at talked about how some of these creatures, I didn't add them because I feel like this is such a hard thing but the atmospheric pressure also has they are sensitive enough to feel it, and so they do stuff. Cows are one of them that they said are sensitive to the atmospheric pressure. So
I'm a big fan of cows. What do cows do when the weather is
lay down.
Changing?
So it is said
if you see cows in a field laying down, bad weather is coming?
Correct.
No.
Correct. Yes,
no.
That is.
Don't they lay down just like for sleeping? Do cows sleep laying down? No. They sleep standing?
No, they stand. They're standers. Yeah.
Interesting. Growing up in Kansas, where there are a lot of cows in fields just hanging out as you drive down the road. This is interesting. I've never considered that. I've got one for you.
Okay.
I have a husky, and I have been told that a husky's nose will go from pink to black through the season.
Okay.
And then it'll go pink again.
Have you
so
experienced?
You can tell, predict the weather based on your husky's nose and the color of it.
Has Chloe's nose changed at all since you've had her?
I have not been journaling this along with the weather. But,
well, you better, because if you want to
Texas,
enter her...
You get the Texas bounce, you know what I mean? It's 17 degrees one day, and the next day it's currently 70 degrees out right now. It's 70 degrees out right now. Why am I in here doing this? I don't know. 70 degrees outside. So I feel like this might not be the right location for this scientific experiment.
That's true. It's very possible. And again, some of these are folklore, it's based in
Oh, you mean this
when.
isn't factual, science studied? Pugsatani Phil predicts the weather.
Apparently. There's a fun little saying with sheep that I found.
Oh, I love
when
sheep.
Sheep gather in a huddle, tomorrow we'll have a
They're
puddle.
all I've
never heard that before. Had you heard that before?
That's amazing.
I thought you would like that. I made sure to make a little note. There's
That's
another
amazing.
one. There's another fun little saying.
When sheep gather in a huddle, tomorrow you'll have a puddle.
For ladybugs, the saying is, swarm when it's warm, seek shelter in the cold. Not
Okay, that
nearly
doesn't-
as fun as the puddle
That-
one, but
There's no rhyming there. I'm going to kick that one.
gonna kick it out. Gonna kick her out.
Yeah.
Poor
You know what else
ladybugs.
my husky does? You can not only predict, apparently, potentially, the seasonality of the weather, but you also can, this I know for sure. You don't have to be tracking the phases of the moon to know what phase the moon is in. Because when it is a full moon, that dog is outside at night, staring at the moon.
Really?
She just loves the moon. She loves the moon. And when it's a full moon, it's like it's time for bed. She's a creature of habit and routine. She knows what she's supposed to do. But man, she does not want to be in the middle of the night in our room sleeping. She wants to lay on the patio and stare at the moon. The moon calls to
Really?
her
That is
like the tides
interesting.
of the ocean. Yes. It's and she does talk like huskies talk, you know. But mostly it's when she wants to go to the park in the morning and when she wants her food at dinner time.
She has her priorities.
Yes, or when she has been left alone and she's feeling very insecure about it because she's a very social dog. Although not with Lola, she's really never alone, and that I think actually she is not happy about that. So Chloe, we have heard her howl just one time. One time and one time only.
Just the once.
You actually happened to be here at our house, and it was like, I don't know. I feel like it was like 1 a.m. or something. And Chloe is outside doing her outside thing because, you know, the moon is full and the parents are not paying attention and nobody went to bed and she's just going to be hanging out outside on the patio. And we all of a sudden hear this baying, this howling. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that a neighbor's dog is
Who just
howling.
lets their dog out and allows them to howl
middle
all
of the night.
Jeez.
It's Chloe.
You are that neighbor.
So we go outside and we're like, Chloe. And we immediately stopped her because, you know, we don't want any of the neighbors being like, oh my God, who is letting their dog howl at the moon? And then we stopped her. So I didn't really get to like take in the experience, and it's never happened again. Now I'm like,
What?
hey, Chloe, do you want to howl at the moon? She's like, no, I was told not to do that. I did it once.
Yeah, I got in trouble for it, so now I don't do it
I mean, she
anymore.
didn't get in trouble. We were just like, come inside. Don't do that. And
I was rushed inside.
yes,
Now
I was
I will
interrupted
never
once and I will
again.
never do it again. It's like when my husband told me he liked his mother's meatloaf better. And I said, I will never make you meatloaf again. And guess what? I haven't.
Since that day, never again.
He would tell that story very differently. He would say that that's not really what he said. But my interpretation of the story is what gets told on this podcast, and that is
That's right.
my interpretation of the story.
Those are
just to
your
be
thoughts
clear.
and feelings. That's right, because you are
And
Jen
yet
of Chris and Jen in the morning.
He is the editor, so we'll see if he chooses to leave that in.
Who really has the power here? That's the question. We will see on the cutting room floor.
So, so Chloe, you can not only tell by the weather, apparently, potentially. You certainly can tell changes in the weather based on her coat shedding, but because we do the Texas bounce, that's just constant.
Just constant.
Huskies are supposed to like have a blowout, is what they call it, which I think is a terrible name because, first of all, if you think about a blowout, like for your hair, that sounds great, but as a mom, even though I am decades from having tiny humans that wear diapers, there's just one thing that comes to mind when you say blowout, and it's not a great connotation.
Not cute. It's not cute.
I'm still traumatized by those experiences that every parent has had to deal with. But at one point or another. But yeah, they say that like twice a year. So once per like big season change. So not like spring into summer, but like, the big
Yeah.
season, maybe that is spring into summer. I don't know. But in the big season changes twice a year, they're supposed to just like lose their undercoat and grow in the different undercoat that feels like it would be spring into summer and then fall into winter. She just, her undercoat's confused because we're just bouncing up and down all the time.
Exactly, with the constant weather bouncing.
And now I know why people really do sell vacuums for dogs.
I'm just imagining if you had the Roomba.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Like that thing would fill up in like 20 minutes.
I mean, first of all, like it's a pretty wide amount of space for that. You'd have to get like 6 of them. But yeah, then you would just be like, you would actually have more work of like emptying that constantly. Right. Yeah. No, and then like the dogs would be like barking at it all the time. No, it just would, no. Can you imagine?
It would create more. It would just
like Lola would think it was a toy
extra.
And hop on top of it and then like break it. Also,
we're not looking to add more stress to the life.
As we discussed, my house is very eclectic. So it's not like it's like, I mean, I'm not saying it's like, I'm not a hoarder or anything. Let's not paint the wrong picture here. But like, it's not like minimalist. So can you imagine like the Roomba trying to go around all of the things?
Yeah, but that's what they do. Like they map out the space,
I guess
and
that's
then
true.
like if they bump into things, they like move away. Like that. I mean, that is the point.
Do you have to like
them.
retrain your Roomba when you redecorate?
That's a good question. I don't know.
We had adopted this pair of dogs back when we lived in Kansas City before we moved to Ohio, and just the best dogs. I was after a couple of dogs. My husband, sweet man, was after a dog. And we went to this no-kill shelter and went to adopt these dogs. And of course, like I'm always looking for like the dog no one else is going to take home because, I wish I could save all the dogs, but, that probably wouldn't be saving them. So again, not a hoarder. So I don't have all of the dogs. So I decided these two are in a pair. They've been in this shelter for a very long time. I mean, I can't remember exactly how long, but it was like a very long time. Like, I think over a year. And they just need somebody to love them. And they had been together. This is not the first time they had come into a shelter. And they had been together. And one was a tiny little white, I say tiny. She was like maybe 25 pounds-ish. She was like a little loaf of bread. She was like a pug beagle mix. And she was this little white dog. Her name was Spanky. We didn't change it because, she'd been there a long time.
That's
and we felt like that was not nice. And then the other was this big black lab. And his name was Indy. And we didn't know this at the time, but Indy had some things that were special about him. But we just saw these dogs and I fell in love with the small dog and my husband loved the big dog. But he was like, we're just after one dog, so find different dogs. And the shelter folks were like, oh my gosh, somebody's taking an interest in these dogs. But everybody really wanted the small dog. Nobody wanted the big black older lab. They're both older. And so they were like, well, yeah, somebody's been wanting to adopt the little white dog, but they don't want them both. And we won't split them up, but we're kind of thinking we might have to split them up because they've been here a really long time. And so we left to think about it. And I, of course, said, do you want this on your conscience that, these dogs get split apart and have to spend the rest of their lives alone and they die from heartache because you wouldn't let me take them home? So we took them home. We took them home. And then we started noticing that this big black dog would like just all of a sudden snap at our son. And we were like, oh my gosh, what have we done? This is like, what have we done? Because they're like the sweetest dogs. And we had the behaviorist out from the shelter And they went through this whole like test with them. And they're like, okay, these dogs are incredibly food motivated, but there is like zero aggression. I've done all of the things to try to get this dog to be aggressive, and there's no aggression at all. Highly food motivated, but you might just want to put some bells on your son's shoes. And I was like,
Bells?
why would I put bells on my son's shoes? And they were like, well, he's blind.
They didn't. The big dog was blind, and they didn't tell you that. Like, it wasn't on like the sheet on the. Oh my gosh!
But he was the best dog, literally the best. He also happened to be diabetic, and so he just wanted all of the things that would make him feel horrible. So we gave him insulin, and he had his little seeing eye dog. The little white dog was his seeing eye dog. I don't remember why I started this story. There was a point to tie this back in. What were we talking about?
We were talking about Chloe and Lola's relationship. We were talking about Chloe's fur, the blowout that she needs.
Yeah, we did talk about that. Yeah, we did.
Any of that triggering?
No, none of it.
All right.
So
but see, that's the journey.
That's the journey.
That's the journey
Chloe,
that I went on looking
Chloe
into
Lola,
groundhogs.
Spanky and Indy, the blind diabetic dog. And there was a point, and it was a good point. But ladies and gentlemen, I have no idea what the point was. So
welcome to Real Talk.
Welcome to Real Talk. This is just, you've been on the journey, and thanks for being on that journey with me.
Well, I will say that in closing of all of this research that I've compiled, there is now a website that I will be checking when it comes to this time of year to see what all the predictions are. And as
this was so going to bother me. What was the point of that story?
Oh, Jen.
Carry on.
So as of today, Groundhog's Day, February 2nd at 2:15 Eastern Time, there are a total of 56 predictions that are in.
Okay.
And the split is 57% are saying that it is early spring, and 43% are saying that it is a longer winter. So
wouldn't it be different depending on where you live?
Yes, I would assume so. But again, we are going off of predictions of animals.
Okay, what is the Staten Island?
In captivity.
Yeah.
Staten Island Chuck is saying that it's going to be an early spring. And him being the most accurate with 85%. 70
degrees outside today. So I'm gonna agree. That's
but going back to Punxsutawney Phil, who just received an honorable mention from NOAA, he's predicting 6 more weeks of winter. So,
But you already said he was like at the bottom of the list, one of the
right. He's only an honorable mention. He didn't
accurate.
even make technically shouldn't, but everyone knows him. So
it's 70 degrees outside today. What is it in New York right now?
Right now is 32 degrees.
Well, that's like pretty New York warm for February 1st.
Our high today is supposed to be 35 and our low is 17.
That's terrible.
I will say we live in a pre-war building, and so they have the heat cranked up, and it is, I would say, around probably the temperature of the sun in here. Like, I have to crack a window. It is, otherwise it gets so warm and stuffy, and I am blessed
all about those cold weather vibes if I'm in a Hallmark movie.
But that's only
where the snow never ruins your shoes. You always have the best coat game.
Yep.
You have a cup of piping hot chocolate in your hands that clearly has 0 calories in it and tastes delicious.
And is always the perfect temperature.
Yeah, you never burn yourself on it. Or if you do, it's in that really just adorable, like meet cute way where you meet the handy, the grumpy handyman that works across the street. And you
I
are
feel like we're beginning
perpetually
to
in your late 20s. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, new episode. Yeah, we're migrating. All right. So if you loved what we've talked about today, or you enjoyed the conversation, or you're just dying to know what the point of my Indian Spanky story was, because I'm gonna eventually figure that out. Then definitely hit subscribe and join us next time, because we sure would love to have you follow along. We'd also love to hear from you. And Chris, what would we like to hear from them?
Oh, that's my We are on it today. I'm like, oh, what? I was fascinated with what you were saying. Yes, I would love to hear if you like. What are your groundhog feelings? Like, I discovered I had feelings I didn't even know that I had. When I started this journey. I am going to subscribe, not just because I'm Chris of Chris and Jen in the morning, but because I want to know if we're ever going to find out the Indian Spanky revelation.
So we'd love to hear from you. We'd love your opinions on Groundhog Day. We would love your bar menu additions. We'd love to know.
Would you drink a gin milkshake?
Maybe. We'd also love to know if you would enjoy a weekend experience for Groundhog's Day weekend at a boutique inn celebrating the holiday. And if so, what would your ideal groundhog related, wood badger related experience be?
Or would you want the bear experience?
And I'm feeling a Hallmark movie coming on.
We're going to have the first ever Hallmark Groundhog movie.
So thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time on Chris and Jen in the morning.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Jen. And it's always morning somewhere.
Oh my God.